A great patriot in Australia was just arrested after giving a speech. This is not the first time this has occurred. The corrupt government of Australia is arresting whites for speaking about what's occurring there. What's occurring there is Muslims shooting Jews, and now whites can't own a gun. Whites can't say how they feel about what's going on around them. Whites can't say that it was the Jewish lobby who pushed the anti-speech law that currently hit. So a man says the Jewish lobby just took our speech and our guns after Muslims shot Jews. And that Jews seem to be the enemy of the Christian. And then he was arrested. That's not good. That's not so good.
A lot of what has been very important has been this consultation where we learn from each other, learn the trends that are coming in, learn the techniques that others have successfully, and what might be coming our way. Because what happened in Montreal happened in Melbourne, and what happened in or London or Paris will make its way to Buenos Aires. That's number one. Number two, do speak in one voice. In certain aspects on key advocacy. So, for example, when we left Australia, our call to action was on the Australian government to move forward the special envoy.
Fuck your upspeak, you stupid fat bitch. Tired of hearing that shit.
Plan on anti-Semitism, which has been stalled for a number of months, to accept it and implement it. It was significant that the leaders of the seven largest democracies went to Australia to show solidarity publicly with the community, government leaders, and also make this joint call to action. Finally, we have meetings, some off the record, some on the record, in which we share our concerns and call for action. So it's both a really important body for consultation and learning from each other.
No, it's funny because she looks like my grandma. Well, she sounds like shit.
Okay, so is she arrested? I mean, she's the one doing it. So what she just described in layman's terms is a international Jewish conspiracy to use their international power to pressure sovereign national governments to silence their critics. Okay, I mean that is what she said. So you're not allowed to say that though. She said it. You're not allowed to be against it. You're not allowed to say it in a way that sounds like you're angry. You have to say it in a positive way.
I have actual white Jewish blood.
And said thank you to the Jewish community and the lobbyists for passing this lovely and necessary hate speech law. Maybe that wouldn't have been against the law, but because he was not happy when he said it, the point is that these laws are entirely arbitrary. They don't actually, they're just a legal framework excuse to silence critics of the power structure. It is beyond simple to understand. And of course, it's not just Australia, it's happening in every country. And there is a concerted effort. Benjamin Netanyahu calls it the Eighth Front War. I'm working on a very sizable report about this right now, but we've seen some updates to it because we've been hearing for a while. And let me just put a cap on it, just to remind you, that woman was not talking in the past tense about a Bondi massacre. All of that happened last summer, months before the Bondi massacre ever occurred. So you have this massive international Jewish cabal that's working with the anti-Semitism czar, whatever their equivalent is, in Australia to write laws censoring Australians from criticizing the country of Israel, their practices. And then for 6 months, they fight for this, try to get it passed. They don't get it passed because it's an obvious and flagrant violation of the fundamental beliefs about free speech that Australians still hold as a holdover from their Anglo history. And not until the massacre of Bondi Beach did they finally get the political will to pass all of this through, even though it didn't address anything about Bondi Beach. It provided the traumatic events to suppress all of the concerns about free speech and say, we just need to get this done now. Oh my God, you don't want another bunch of people to die, do you? The bill doesn't stop anybody from dying, obviously. And of course, they have carve-outs for specifically Jewish institutions in Australia that they get to have guns and get more guns, but everybody else in Australia has to turn their guns in. Totally insane. Okay, just getting that across the board. So, Netanyahu has this eighth front war, and it's actually more in depth than you think. The eighth front war, they claim, is the information war. They claim is the war over social media. In a way, that's true. But at the same time, Netanyahu is making statements about America being Rome and Jerusalem being against Rome last time, but they have to win the next one. Okay, so you put those two dots together, right? The Eighth Front War is not just a war in cyberspace. It's not just a war of disinformation. It's a war against America. It's a war against America because Netanyahu has made multiple speeches in the past where he enunciates his ambition for Israel to move from a secondary power on the world stage to a primary power on the world stage. But in Netanyahu's own words, it's pretty easy to understand that Israel is waging an eighth front war, a war of information against America, in an attempt to both destroy America and upgrade the position of Israel to a position that America serves now as hegemon of the world. Okay, so this is what they're doing. This is their plans. And for a couple of years at this point, we've heard over and over and over that the most important victory to be achieved is against TikTok. Not because TikTok is something special other than that
TikTok that'll show you chicks' ass and pussy, but it won't let you put a clip of Alex Jones on there.
it wasn't already built with embedded anti-Semitism algorithms inside. Right? So again, it's not that TikTok was over and above the popularity of anything else. It was just that much more important. But otherwise, like the other outlets, like the other platforms now, Meta has a censor specifically for Jewish diaspora at the Meta company. And she's in charge of their censorship activity, and she gives out her way to things like define Zionist as anti-Semitic, so that even if you're just protesting not against the actions of the Israeli government in a secular geopolitical framework, still will be censored because they'll extrapolate that to mean it's Jews, and therefore you can't criticize the actions of a foreign state. Meta already had that built in. Elon's been very conciliatory towards the ADL and allowing them to use the algorithm to suppress posts criticizing Israel. That was revealed recently, but you asked Grok to give their account a score and how the algorithm treats you, and it was revealed that embedded in the algorithm of X is a score as to whether you are pro-Zionist or anti-Zionist. Pro-Zionist crushes your reach. Okay, so they're not really worried about X. They're not really worried about Meta and Facebook. They already have them captured and censors there to silence criticism. But TikTok was an outlier, and China didn't want to sell them TikTok, and China isn't playing their games.
Rumble doesn't.
And so they used the American government, came up with these claims about the Chinese government stealing data or whatever, whatever these things throw at the wall, just like to get rid of the Harvard president, they came up with something about plagiarism. It was about actually allowed anti-Zionist protest. The Colombia president just got replaced because he wasn't philo-Semitic, so he was kicked out. And the person that replaced him is a diehard Zionist.
Good-looking motherfucker.
Her dad is like a famous lifelong.
They arrested a good-looking motherfucker after he gave that speech. I'll tell you what. That's about a perfect fucking specimen. Not overly muscular, but broad. Long.
Search her dad's name, like 50 different books about Israel, and it's like the number one thing is like you suing Hamas and all this stuff. Anyway, so they got, what's happening, all right? I'm against it before it. Call me a liar. This is absolutely what's happening. It's being done in a coordinated, organized, orchestrated fashion, and it's being done by weaponizing things like the American government's incredible power on the world stage, the incredible sway we have and leverage that we're able against a opponent like China. Now, instead of using that power and using that leverage to our own benefit, it's hijacked by Israelis and used to their benefit. So TikTok is basically forced out of the hands of the Chinese because the Jewish lobby in America convinced Congress to write a law that said they had to do that. And then bought it, but Larry Ellison or his consortium helped to put it in place. Now there's a new CEO, likewise, following exactly the same trend as the Jewish diaspora chief at Meta, and conflating all anti-Zionist and anti-Semitic sentiment and banning it across the board to the degree that you can't say factual things about Jeffrey Epstein or the Gaza war. And at this point, it's being discovered Epstein in a private message.
Whoa.
And this is being reported on by NPR. TikTok is investigating why some users can't write Epstein messages. You're investigating that, are you? Interesting. Yeah, I'll go investigate. I put out yesterday. Dummies.
Blow my nose.
What are you investigating? It's the censorship protocol you put into place deliberately, but they're investigating it. Officials at TikTok say they're looking into why many users have been unable to send the word Epstein direct messages, an issue that garnered widespread attention on social media Monday and prompted California Governor Gavin Newsom to announce an inquiry into the matter. But we don't have rules against sharing the Epstein direct messages.
Yeah, Apple refuses to populate the rest of the word when it comes to Switzerland, when it comes to Rothschild. A lot of words. Apple will just not even fucking help you type. Please, no.
And are investigating why some users are experiencing issues. A spokesperson for TikTok's U.S. operation told NPR in a statement.
You know how with almost every single word that you type, it kind of suggests the rest of the word? It's if you type in SPRI, it's probably going to suggest spring as a result, right? Maybe sprinkler. But it won't it won't suggest any of Switzerland or Rothschild. Probably several, probably many other words, but it'll do 99% of the words that are commonly used.
This comes just days after TikTok finalized a sale that gave a consortium of mostly American investors control of TikTok's business in the U.S. A deal that averted a nationwide ban of the app over national security concerns tied to its Chinese parent company. Among the lead investors is tech firm Oracle, which is run by billionaire Larry Ellison, number one most generous contributor to the IDF. And of course, part of getting this TikTok deal, America had to make certain sacrifices.
Fuck Larry Ellison, fuck the IDF.
Like allowing China to send 600,000 students to this country. That was all part of the economic deal, of which the purchase of TikTok was just a part.
The rest of the cowboy.
So yeah, TikTok is now censoring the best of the U.S. government. The app is still functionally banned. Yeah, it's not the U.S. government, but we are going to get blamed, and Trump is playing the role. And they are doing it through the American government using our authority talking already have been that factual information from like official sources about Epstein were still being censored. That's what it's always about. Just like how the UK put in, age controls for the internet because they're like, we don't want kids finding sites that tell them to commit suicide. And the first thing they start censoring is reports about a migrant raping or killing a girl. I can't remember which one it was, but it's every single time they put in a censorship protocol on the basis of anti-Semitic hate, and they just ban you from talking about Epstein, or for protecting children from suicide, and they ban you from talking about your daughter being stabbed by a Muslim. Over and over, folks.
I'm here to announce a new, extremely exciting product at thealexjostore.com, and that's Mindfeed. Brought to you by the same folks that developed Optimal Human Processing.
Oh, come on. No. What are you doing? What do you want to do? All right, I was going to.
Without guilt, and it's good for your whole body, not just your brain. Caffeine-free formula, smooth, clean energy, advantage, ideal for caffeine-sensitive users and late-day use. Nootropic, alpha GPC, citrulline, DMAE, GABA. Benefits, supports mental clarity and focus. Advantage, competes with premium brain formulas in a convenient shot. And the best part is, it's an adaptogenic and herbal proprietary blend. Balanced, rounded energy. Advantage, appeals to both biohackers and holistic consumers. And then it's got high quality electrolytes and a spectrum of high quality B. If you look at other products, thealexjostore.com, you're going to love Mind Fuel. And if you haven't tried our ultra methylene blue or our Shilajit or Irish sea moss or bovine colostrum, you're crazy. These are all incredible products. Get your Mind Fuel now at thealexjostore.com, and it'll keep us up here on powering your life.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Third hour is on, and I'm joined in studio by Joel Webben. You can follow him on X at Joel Webben, nxrstudios.com. Is where you can find NXR Studios, which is also on Rumble, NXR Studios. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing great, Harrison. Thanks for having me.
I'm very happy to have you. You have a new book out called The Hyphenated Heresy. Judeo-Christianity is the subtitle. We'll only get into this and how it applies to everything going on in the world today. But I want to go to a video of yours that's gone pretty viral recently, November 5. This went actually totally viral. We'll play it and then we'll comment a little on the other side.
I just posted it yesterday, so it's only been like 24 hours, but it's already getting a lot of views.
Picking up steam for good reason, because the conflict at the heart of our entire society at this point. Here's Joel Webben with a video comparing Christians.
That's right.
Here it is.
Stop quoting our scriptures to us. The Old Testament belongs to Christ and to his Christians, his joint heirs, not to reject Jeremiah, who promised a new covenant in which God would forgive sin and remember iniquity no more. You reject Hosea, who proclaimed that God would call his son out of Egypt. You reject Malachi, who foretold the Lord suddenly coming to his temple, preceded by the messenger who would prepare the way. You reject Balaam, who foresaw a star and a scepter rising out of Jacob. And you reject Solomon, who sang of a king whose dominion would be extended to the ends of the earth and that would endure forever. And you reject Asaph, who proclaimed that God would reject false shepherds and raise up his own chosen king to shepherd faithfully his people in righteousness. You rejected all the prophets, you stoned them, you built tombs and sepulchres to honor them in order to try to whitewash the blood off of your hands. But you rejected them all God does not hear your prayers, and I am deeply and profoundly sorry that any Christian has dared to imply that we worship the same God, because your God is not Yahweh. Your father is the devil. Your synagogues are erected in his honor, synagogues of Satan. I point out that God tires of your feet and rejects all your sacrifices. But Christ Almighty actually destroyed your temple by divine decree, and you have not offered a single legitimate Jewish act of worship in 1,955 years. So today, you have a choice. You can worship your Messiah and bow down to your King, or you can be about tidying Jerusalem and sweeping Israel. You can care for our holy sites and our relics. One day soon, the Christ who crucified is returning to reclaim his earthly home and turn you into a footstool for his feet and to rule over you with a rod of iron. His first act was to evict every last Jew and Muslim from the Holy Land at the tip of his own sword, so as to not sully it with the presence of your unbelief. Oh, but you're the chosen ones. No, you're not. We are. Christians are. Yeah. Do you not know your own supposed scriptures? Have you not read God spoke through Malachi, declaring that he will reject your sacrifices entirely and take his name to the Gentiles instead? Have you not read in Jeremiah, who quotes God promising to tear down a nation planted if it persists in evil, and to build another if it obeys? Christians are the children of Abraham, while unbelieving Jews have been cut off. So while I appreciate your noble effort to lecture Christians about why replacement theology, I reject the premise that you believe the Old Testament itself. For if you did, then you would believe in Christ and joyfully declare that Christ is King.
Yeah, folks, that, in my opinion, was a very well said expression of basic biblical theology. And
What is
the
it
sad
that I
thing
can
is,
do for you?
people are outraged
What
at
can I
that.
do for you?
But that's what the First Amendment is for, to be outraged. But we can be critical. On the other side, we get into it with Joel Levin, and we'll get into everything that was just said, and his new book, The Hyphenated Heresy, available now. Stay with us, folks.
Energy shots have been all the rage for decades because they really work. But most of them are full of dyes, toxic stimulants, and have huge crashes. We set out to develop a product at thealexstore.com that has all the very best adaptogens, nootropics, to biohack your body, and not just help your brain, but every cell in your entire body. You've got it, ladies and gentlemen. Mind Fuel is next level with no letdown, no crash. It is very strong. I take half a shot in the morning, half in the afternoon, and it's just amazing. And again, the effects go on for days and days and days because these are super nutrients that are in Mind Fuel. The time I have here, I can't tell you all the incredible ingredients. So go to thealexstore.com and look at what is in it, and of course, proprietary herbal ingredients as well. Go now to thealexjonesstore.com and secure your Mind Fuel and be the reason we'll always be on the air. Thank you so much for your support. If you love our other products, you're going to love Mind Fuel. Dismantling the globalist agenda hour by hour. This is the War Room with Harrison Smith.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Joel Weapon is my guest. He's here at the studio. His book is called The Hyphenated Heresy, Judeo-Christianity. That's the hyphen of Judeo-Christianity. Follow Joel on X, at Joel Weapon, on Rumble at NXR Studios and nxrstudios.com. He is a father, a husband, a pastor who serves as the pastor of Covenant Bible Church in Texas. He's the president and founder of Right Response content focused on biblical theology and cultural issues. Of course, you also gaslight as it's not the right word, moonlight as a incredibly controversial public figure. Even though what you're saying, and that video is a great example, seems like perfectly in line with basic Christian theology, but obviously people don't like that.
Yeah, they don't like it. Well, I think that a lot of people at the logical religious level, especially they assume that modern Judaism, Christianity is
Just trying to get more food out of it.
right. So they think that
I don't want to
well,
hurt
we
you.
have differences. Christians worship Jesus, Jews don't, but Judaism out of all other religions aside from Christianity is closest to Christianity. So it's a lot of evangelical Protestant Christians, they acknowledge Judaism is not Christianity, but it's the closest. I would argue that in regards, it's actually the furthest. Islam. It's a false religion, and go back 1,400 years of incredible conflicts between Christians and Muslims, and so I don't want to belittle the problems with Islamic teaching, especially as it pertains to Muslims religiously gaining more and more power here in the United States. That is a problem, so I don't want to minimize that. But the reality is that Islam still esteems Christ, so they're going to reject his deed. They're not going to see him as the way, the truth, and the life, as the only begotten Son of God, but herald him, esteem him as a great prophet, close to or a similar level to Muhammad himself. Hinduism has a place for Jesus as esteemed. Buddhism has a place for Jesus as esteemed. There's only one major world religion.
What was the last one he said? I was laugh crying. Hold on. Come back in.
To Muhammad himself. Hinduism has a place for Jesus as esteemed. Has a place for Jesus as esteemed. There's only one major world religion that actually despises Christ, that teaches that Christ is currently burning in hell, that as a heretic and a blasphemer and a false teacher, and that is Judaism. So the best way to think about it is the Old Testament. We're not Christianites, which is a heresy of severing the New from the Old, and the New Testament in isolation. That's your Christian, liberal Christian who would be like, well, but the red letters of the scripture, say, and what they mean by that is that, whatever Jesus said somehow eradicates everything in the Old Testament. The Old Testament doesn't even exist. Jesus never talked about homosexuality, so therefore, it's on the table. And it's just not basic Christian theology. We hold the Old and New together. But the best way to think of it, there's one theologian who said that the Old Testament is like a furnished, dimly lit, but it can be fully appreciated in the light of the New Testament. And the way to understand Judaism in comparison to Christianity, Talmudic Judaism, modern Judaism, is that both of us share the Old Testament. The problem, though, is that they're not just the Old Testament minus the New. We both have lenses that are placed over the to interpret it and understand it. We have the New Testament, and so we use the Old Testament through the New Testament as our lens. The two Old Testament through the lens of the Talmud. And what the Talmud does is it doesn't just mean they have the Bible minus the New Testament. The Old Testament that they have is twisted, perverted, and changed by the Talmud. That murky lens that they're reading the Old Testament through. So what you're left with is not half Christianity, but it's arguably the most hostile world to Christianity.
And that would be surprising for a lot of people to hear, because I feel like I'm constantly trying to remind people Judaism is not Christianity. I mean, nowadays there's inflation where there are different religions with different worldviews, therefore different philosophies about what's right and wrong. People should not be able to recognize that, and they, like you said, want to treat Judaism like Christianity as the New Testament. But even that phrase is a little absurd, right? I mean, how do you have Christianity without the New Testament? That really doesn't make any sense. So it's something utterly and completely different. And now the way that Christians, the Middle East and around Israel, are being absolutely brutalized by the Israeli regime. I mean, they just took over the settlers' field, which is the place where the shepherds' field, rather. The settlers took over the shepherds' field, which is the place where the shepherds were greeted by the angels, told them to go find Jesus in the manger. That is now, 1,000 people in that village were just violently expelled and taken over. So this is there's still a real world conflict going on here. This isn't just about ancient philosophy.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. I think that the average Jewish person, whether they're practicing or not, that's another thing to point out is people will be quick to say, yeah, but the average Jewish person is not a religiously practicing Jew. Most of Israel is secular, and I recognize that. But what I think is important for people to realize is the same thing about America. So at this point, it's sad, but we really, as a nation, have apostatized against the Lord Jesus Christ, and we're not Christian as we once were. And yet, at the same time, all these Christian underpinnings are still there. So you have plenty of people who are never going to darken the door of a church on Sunday morning, and don't even, what they do is twice a year, cultural Christian, something like that. Many of them won't even profess to be followers of Christ, and many of them are not truly regenerate. They're not born again, not Christians in any sense of the term. And yet, there's still cultural aspects in the West, in the country, America, that ultimately come from this Christian foundation. What's the same thing? Apply that same concept now to Israel, and you say, well, 75% of Israelis, Jews living in Israel or Jews here in America, they're not practicing, they're not religious Jews. Dave Smith would be an example, something like that. But what I would say is that same way that American culture, even modern present day culture in America, was forged by Christianity, so too Jewish culture is forged by Judaism. Whether you acknowledge that or you're practicing or not, there's still the underpinnings that are still there. And some of those negative implications, I'm not saying that everything is bad about it, but some of the negative implications, the religion of Judaism, the best way to understand it is the religion of lawyers, a religion of litigation.
Of lawyers. Well, it is. Well, because that's how it is. It's all arguments. It's all. Actually, I'm a big fan of a YouTuber called Ash Shoemaze. He's describing it. He's sort of defending the Talmud in certain ways because people, you find tracks of the Talmud that sound horrible out of context. In context, it's like, all right, maybe that wasn't quite what they're trying to say. But I mean, it's the way he describes it is like imagine taking the transcript of legal procedure for like a whole century in America and saying this is your holy book now. You wouldn't know what people. Some people are making this argument. Some people are making this argument. It's like, do they both? How could they? So yeah, I mean, the Talmud is very much a sort of lawyer conversation about the Old Testament.
Right. It's a meticulous, legalistic litigation about the Old Testament. So with Jesus is constantly the gospel, Matthew, John. You have heard it was said. A lot of Christians.
The only mandatory purchase our founders and framers ever made for us, I'm talking George Washington, the first Congress, was firearms and military equipment. And for ship owners, shipping was huge. It was our biggest industry at the time. Ship owners had to provide medical insurance for their seamen. And okay, sounds reasonable. Now, all companies have to provide medical insurance if they're a certain size. So that sounds okay too, right? If you're not creating poor people, you're not harming people by those policies. You're not taking rights away from people by those policies. It's like you got to take care of your employees, right? Well, anyway, and I'm not even saying I agree with that one, but but the mandatory firearms I do agree with. And yes, it's not just that we have a Second Amendment, the right to bear arms. We have a 1790 mandate that we have to own firearms, that we have to purchase firearms. We had to purchase them within 6 months. So that means the moment you learn about the 1790 mandate, you have 6 months or you're in violation. That's what the fuck that means. Our country was hijacked shortly after that. And nobody wants to talk about the mandate anymore. 1790 to 1792. And it finally passed. You have 6 months.
Today, modern evangelical Protestant Christians are really, at the end of the day, they're anti-nominus. And what that means, anti-against nomos law. They're against the law of God. So they think, oh, see, Jesus is actually contradicting Moses. Jesus is looking at the law of God that was given by God himself through Moses in the
the argument so powerfully. But it's not a new thing. It's not something that they just came up with last year going, hey, I know. What if we all were the same faith? Like, that's a good idea. No. These things have been in place for a long time. And you can see it in the way that certain sects will be vilified while others will be celebrated. It's often the dividing line is who's going along with the mark of the beast antichrist system and who's not. So they hate Orthodox Christianity because it's the Orthodox, Christian preachers who come out going, hey, this is the mark of the beast and we're not going for it. Russian Orthodoxy, they're desperate to try to destroy and discredit these days.
I'm Orthodox, and I'm particularly Western, and so there's big problems that I would have theologically and culturally, but the Eastern Orthodox guys, those guys are not Zionists, and they're also not feminists. There's a reason why a lot of young men have gravitated towards Eastern Orthodoxy. He's like barrel chested with a beat down to the buckle of his belt, and on Monday morning, he's inviting all the men, all the catechumens to come over to his garage, and he's like, church and his pastor Sally.
Hey, whoa! Okay. We're just looking at this. Okay, I got the answer. All right.
Yeah. And again, it's funny because it's so obvious, but somehow the church death spiral where they are popularity, try to comport themselves to the modern society-wide work. And it's funny that everybody outside can see it, but the churches, they can't help themselves. They go down this death spiral. And it's not like for Christian for itself, strong, not apologizing for it. And I'm sorry, thus that's fine. Go over there and do that. We're not for you. And I guess call that muscular or whatever, but it's true. It's true. A certain confidence. Why?
It's what Christians have always believed, but something changed. I kind of dated. I don't want to blame everything on this, but I think along the way, like you go back to the Enlightenment and see some of the things crept into historic Christianity. Back to points in history, this happened, that happened, and there were cracks in the dam. But a big one was too, and I'm but I do think that away from that with this mentality, a strong, convicted, authoritarian figure, Christian, rhetoric. That's incredibly dangerous. And so what we need instead is Western society, America, we calm, dogmatic, and hold beliefs and convictions. And what happened was essentially vulnerable to false doctrines, false religion, mass immigration, we became vulnerable to all these different things. And at some point, be able to say, essentially, like we are today, it's like, why can the West not have nice things? And at a certain point, we have to be able to get over it. And getting over it, just for the record, I don't think it's lionize Hitler. Getting over it doesn't mean like now I'm wearing a swastika. When I say get over it, what I mean is there are lots of very, very intense figures in history, Khan, Stalin, have been under this cloud of fear and guilt, all in of one event. I call it Holocaust. You don't have to be a Holocaust. The only way to break the spell is to say that I won't quibble with some of the numbers and some of the details, but the Holocaust, regardless of how much it is for sure, fact, historical fact, and true, the Holocaust has been weaponized into a religion. And essentially what that religion does That's a spiritual weapon.
Of course, I always put it there's two Holocaust, right? There's the low age Holocaust, which was tragic by the but also capital Holocaust has dogma you have to assert, you have to as much more of a story. So I have to
Kind of
divide these.
that pastors, like, if you believe in your heart and confess that 6 million died in the Holocaust and Jesus, please,
I don't like that.
sir, tell me which history of the Holocaust must I believe? And the reality is not something that's true, something that's false. It does matter. So I'm not trying to say that none of it is important, but we elevate that to the level of dogma to like I would never have someone come to the pastor in my church a church membership process and say, and how many people did he kill down to the exact number and the right answer is I would bar them from the membership of my church. But I know local pastors who actually do that when it comes to World War II history. So there's lots of tragic events that happen to the world is fallen, it's filled with sin. But why is this one held almost comparable to the level of belief? Christians do have to believe there are some non-negotiable historical facts we must believe. We must believe 2,000 years ago the life, the death, the burial, the resurrection, and the ascension of Jesus Christ. He was the Virgin Mary. He lived a sinless life. That he died not just as a sacrificial love for his friends, but he died as a Lamb of God who takes away the sins of the world. He died as a substitute under the wrath of God, so that I might receive righteousness and forgiveness. He bodily, not just in a metaphor or symbology, but bodily rose from the grave and is ascended to the right hand of God the Father, where he is seated and interceding on our behalf. And one day he will return to judge both the living and the dead. That's the history that a Christian must believe in order to be faith. That is the faith once and for all passed down to the saints. Everything else, it doesn't mean that everything else is relative. They're still true and they're still false. But everything else is not call your salvation into question to simply say, well, I kind of think Pat Buchanan was onto something. Right now, like Pat Buchanan, there are guys who are just reading the Fall of the West, like some of Pat Buchanan stuff on this event or that event, and it's by Christian pastors as like a Crowley or something. Yeah, like it's crazy, it's distorted, and it's happened sort of subtly, and this sort of idea has been built up slowly but surely. But now at this point, especially when we talk about evangelicals, it goes out of the realm of religion, realm of geopolitics. We have countries like Israel bringing over 1,000 pastors to deliberately indoctrinate them in religious with political concerns of the state of Israel and trying to align those. It has become a very potent vector of propaganda for the state of Israel, the evangelical mission, which is also strange because at the time, America, and I want to clip that before we go to the trailer. I don't have the trailer now. Read detail. I really like that because you can read it and just accept it if you want, but if you really want to all the footnotes are there, so it's sort of whatever you want. Let's put the trailer for this again. Hyphenated there, Judeo-Christian. That's the hyphenation by Joel Webben and Jordan Hoyt now on Amazon. Here's the trailer. at the foot of Mount Moses and the prophets fulfilled, not replaced. of sight. The hyphenated heresy challenges the myth of the hyphen, tracing how it reshaped Christian identity, redefined its witness, and bound modern faith to political Zionism. Pick up your copy today on Amazon.com.
Wow, incredibly powerful, man. Absolutely fascinating. The hyphenated Joel Webben and Jordan Hall. And yeah, I mean, of course, it goes back to the Pharisees, but if we're talking about Israel, it goes back to the Rothschilds. I mean, this was a political move by weaponized faiths, and they weaponize all faiths in order to achieve this. It doesn't mean the people that live there are evil necessarily. People that believe that their fathers are whatever. It means that you have to recognize this stuff not only in a spiritual and significant way, but that has impacts on modern politics.
That's the spiritual side. You also recognize that Israel is and that doesn't mean that we should be at war with them. That doesn't our interests are our interests. That's called into question. Iran and agitate, countries in the Middle East. Does that help America? It's like, well, they're not that to having have the nuclear somewhat extensively. This is talked about this. They have the projectile technology close to reaching to us. They're not a threat to us, but what happens is comes in and then emotional appeal comes in and say, well, we gotta go. Like some people on the other side of the world are chanting death to America, and lots of Americans don't realize that just it foments towards the Muslims. And Muslim haters are chanting death to America. They're burning American flags. Guys, for a second, the reason they hate America is because it has made their lives a nightmare, and Israel gets their strength. State. A lot of Muslims on the other side of the world, their hatred for America is actually because of our partnership with Israel. It's not because we just are like, this country on the other side of the world doesn't affect me whatsoever. I hate them. I'm burning their flag. No, it's affect them. We're helping Israel. Like, oh, we'll drop a bomb over here. We'll do there. We'll do. And all of it, what's underlining it's like, why does America have this, like, what seems like a religious fervor, religious devotion to this? Well, it's because it is religious. And that's what we're trying to point out.
And I don't necessarily begrudge Jews for doing a lot of the anti-Semitism stuff. Like, sure, you don't want to talk trash about you, want to speak out about that. More about it. Well, of course, when it's tyranny, they're lying about it, and they're saying anti-Semitism, we're really talking about Jeffrey Epstein or whatever. Obviously, that's wrong. It can be very easily manipulated. But it's a lot of stuff that Jews are accused of. And I always talk about talking to my friend who was Jewish, and I asked him if he was going to stay in town or because he was getting a job. And he said, well, we're not that many people. I can make a job anywhere in the world. Anywhere in the world, I'm probably 1 or 2 degrees of separation from somebody in London or Jakarta that could job is just the way that the Jewish community works and operates and whatever. And it's like, what am I supposed to do? Don't take that. No, it's whatever. But we weaponize it. And the point I'm saying is, I don't necessarily begrudge them wanting to defend themselves, but we also have to defend ourselves. The lies and smears about Christianity that are happening today, they're not, confront them and say, and
That's a bullying. Look down here. Fucking stupid shit. Already. Come on now. The way my dogs are eating these dry spaghetti noodles. Hey, stop playing with it. Stop playing with it. I just don't sleep anymore.
And I'm not bragging about that. First off,
Hey, get out of your mom's stuff. You guys are silly.
last week,
Hey, stop it.
and I was hoping we could have and I said, did not expect things
You're so funny.
And I said, they're going to call it a treat. You're going to be on there Sunday. Rep for it. Not that. It is calibration. And I said on air last week and Sunday, I said, why don't you stick them at the local military base?
Eating them when I give them to you.
Why don't you put trailers out there and it's there? I mean, more. They're doing that. And I'm not saying they're following it.
Is that? Stop going for the tentacles.
Support for healthy blood sugar levels, stronger immune system function, enhanced liver health, and natural everyday anxiety, protection against oxidative signs of aging. And again, private label of an already best-selling brand found this. Thousands of customers report as little as 7 to 14 days. Right now, take advantage of our best pricing ever. VFM members, $34.95. Regular, $59.59. Save over 40% with a VFM membership for $30 a month. Experience the revival your body has been waiting for. Secure Bible today at theelishowstore.com. I'm going to open the phone a lot of your phone calls in the next 4 hours. First off, Trump is not retreating. ICE is not retreating. And I would say that happen. That small numbers of federal agents out into these rat nests. When the leftists are basically out there sacrificing themselves by God, he will be spun to me and listen to others. What's going on there? You gotta have our call just live.
Canadian woman euthanized against her will in Canada by the government. Oh, wow. Click on that in a minute.
I mean, I just like I watched the I see shot at bottles out of their head.
The biggest mass murderers in our world are nurses and doctors, and Bill Gates, and military commanders, I guess, right? Some of them. Presidents, kings, queens, sultans, ministers, prime ministers. But anyway, yeah. They're getting so used to killing citizens through assisted suicide that I guess they're starting to kill people that don't even want it. Your only option is death. Apparently, with some conditions, it's not that the doctor just tells you you're going to die. They kill you on the spot, or shortly after. In Canada, they schedule you for death. They schedule to kill you. They give you the death penalty for like being sick or something. Oh my gosh. But I think nurses and doctors, collectively, nurses and doctors killed the most people in the world. It's fake medicine. We used to have real medicine where you actually got healed and cured.
3D printers. Once again, what we're seeing here is some sort of size of to get passing screen over any single device. Maybe fabricate to order. Those
Got killed.
or someone buys a luxury vehicle, it's just too expensive.
Back. Hey, whoa. What is that? You just leave it right here. Leave it.
Examples of functions are the same. See, try and write.
Yeah.
may seem trivial. It's not.
Oh,
Just giving you an example of that.
okay.
They're cheap, easily accessible, and before you know it, they start to licensing or regulation. They keep selling surveillance
Oh.
but now the rest of it is, and oh, by the way, now switch it off by mandate. Of building smart city surveillance, usually rolling out in the UK as we speak, and the United States to set the country up for the same type of as we speak. And you protect where threats of assault, all types of EMF are interfering with our very existence. Escape the
It's time for Christians to fuck you, globalists. We're coming to fuck you.
escape zone. Technology for ultimate preparedness. Devices detectable. Protect you from card and device skimming, identity theft, tracking, and crossbody bag, or optimum protection ballistic backpack, combining cutting-edge fabric with the ballistic Kevlar ultimate protection and repair. Now you can and some of the most harmful frequencies in our environment. Whatever your needs are, Escape Zone has you covered.
MFB.
And their range is perfect for personal, family use, or even as a gift for someone. Visit Escape Zone.com/pulse and protect you and your loved ones today. That's escapezone.com/pulse. So it turns out it's only vaccines that are actively poisoning our children. It's also candy. 18% of sweets tested have elevated levels of arsenic, DeSantis says.
Oh.
My goodness. So the administration of Governor DeSantis announced on Monday tested 46 types of candy, and 60% of them elevated arsenic levels that, consumed over time, could put children at a risk of cancer. This is the second announcement this month that the DeSantis administration has made about testing results being posted on the Florida First website. The Governor and First Lady DeSantis announced Florida had tested 24 infant formulas and found that 16 of them contained chemicals. Those Secretary Robert F. Kennedy directing to the Federal Food and Drug Administration to look at ingredients in infant formula before you mix oatmeal, water, lemon, and another ingredient from the refrigerator door. Prepare to catch the
Bedtime ritual. But the biological
with federal officers about the sources far observing now this source that five tackled him and one on his back, which led to according to the source said, quote, that day he thought he was going to die. Now medication consistent treating a broken rib, according to records that have been posted by CNN. We've also learned that ICE agents had received a memo from the Department of Homeland Security.
So that was the second time he attacked ICE.
Asking that they include information on prisoners and agitators information was part of this foreign intake, but this comes within the context of the Department of Homeland Security repeated warnings about federal law enforcement officers tip form to allegedly harassing ICE officers. Now, of course, we've heard from Trump said that database arrested for impeding. We also saw a video over the weekend in where an officer says the protester is going to be inserted into the Department of Homeland Security such database exists. But all of this to say about Alex Petty that
I don't believe in paying somebody else to operate my own property. I don't want to pay somebody else to operate my own property. I don't want to do it anymore.
that sources that he had a broken rib from that encounter. And prior to that deadly shooting, I should also know when the officer had tackled him, he knew